The decision as to where to place a trust is as important as the decision to create a trust in the first place. That's a quote that I read back in 2010, 2011 that really resonated as we began Bridgeford Trust Company and began to build out what it is that became Bridgeford Trust Company and the Bridgeford family of companies. This idea of selecting the proper trust situs or trust jurisdiction is a concept that we've become so wildly passionate about over the years because it matters. It matters for so many different reasons in terms of finding the most powerful planning opportunities in the United States and really for families, not just in the United States, but all over the world. And as we say all the time in our videos and our webinars, the devil is sort of in the details, and these trust jurisdictions are not created equally, and we've spent a lot of time objectively comparing the top tier trust jurisdictions, comparing the US as a trust jurisdiction against international trust jurisdictions. And as so many of you know, the US has just become a target now for international families for a whole myriad of reasons. Which raises the question, or raises the issue that we've become so intrigued with over the years, which is there actually a duty to select a top tier trust jurisdiction? In the early days of Bridgeford, I did a lot of reading and came across a law review article from Harvard that raised the question, is it in fact malpractice if an attorney or an advisor puts a family in a jurisdiction, let's say like New Jersey or Pennsylvania or California for trust planning, knowing that South Dakota, Nevada, or Delaware are stronger around asset protection or tax planning or privacy or whatever? The question is, if an attorney doesn't advise the family, is it malpractice? Don't know of a case yet on point, but it's a fair question and one I think advisors need to be concerned about. But recently, it's been brought to my attention that there's actually some codified language in various aspects of literature that guide trust professionals like us and lawyers. In particular, the Restatement of Trust third in the comments clearly raise a question about whether there's a fiduciary duty on the part of not just the trustee, but anybody having a fiduciary duty in the trust relationship, which could include an attorney, to put a trust in South Dakota or Nevada or Alaska, knowing that there's no state income tax, or knowing there's asset protection available. And if they don't make that suggestion, did they breach their duty? The idea of a trustee in its essence is to protect the integrity of the trust and the trust assets. And if we know collectively as an industry that certain states are better than others, and we don't use those states, are we in trouble? Did we breach our duty? And this issue is becoming more clearly defined and something we're paying attention to. It's also in a uniform trust code, which has been adopted by the majority of states around the nation. Same question that Section 108 says the same thing. It doesn't ask the question, it says definitively there's a duty for fiduciaries to protect trust assets. And the best way to do that is to make sure you're in the right trust jurisdiction. So this conversation around top tier trust jurisdiction isn't just hyperbole or sales or cocktail discussion at a country club. There are real implications if the decisions aren't made correctly. And for the history of Bridgeford, we've been extremely passionate about it. And there's also a case that talks about this out of the Massachusetts Supreme Court. So not only do we have a Harvard Law Review article, not only do we have some statutory guidance, now there's actually a case at a Supreme Court level in Massachusetts that actually raises the question and says that there is in fact a duty to decant. Now, for those of you who follow us and know the word decant, it's a fancy way of saying creating a new trust, pouring an old trust into a new trust. And is there a duty to pour an old trust, let's say, in New Jersey that's underperforming because trust law in New Jersey is not very good? And is there a duty to decant that into a South Dakota, where we know definitively that there's a lot more that can be done, particularly in the area of taxation? So Bridgeford's going to continue to follow this and speak about this and provide education around this issue, because at some point, there's going to be a legitimate question as to liability on the part of fiduciaries, for sure, if the decision is incorrect. So for more information about all four of these areas of authority that I referenced, or the idea generally of the fiduciary duty to select proper trust jurisdiction, please go to our website. We have lots of information about the objective comparison of trust jurisdictions, lots of videos, and a podcast series that actually has touched on this several times. So we encourage you to contact us and look at our materials, and if you have any questions, we'd be happy to talk to you.